Secret number 4. The problem of awareness. Because we are using familiar words to describe less familiar ideas, let's see if we can clarify things a bit, particularly where the techniques concern you, personally. Don't care what you think you are. You may consider yourself exceptionally intelligent, overly stupid, underweight, or overweight. You may be an activist or a pacifist, an office worker or an executive, a housewife or a career woman, an outgoing, friendly person or a timid wallflower. You may be an alcoholic, drug addict, liar, exaggerator, cheat, or neurotic. You may be depressed all the time, fearful of everyone and everything. You may hate the weather, dogs, cats, exercise, bumblebees, traffic jams, or spinach. But none of these really describes you. They are only descriptions of the things you do or the actions you take. If you identify solely with your actions, you falsely perceive the truth about yourself. You are judging, limiting, and even rejecting yourself without justification. Low self-confidence is simply a problem of awareness. Once you are aware of the truth about yourself, you will be able to understand why you are the way you are, and, most importantly, learn to love and accept yourself. Your awareness can be defined as the clarity with which you consciously and unconsciously perceive and understand everything that affects your life. It is the sum total of your life experiences, encompassing conditioning, knowledge, intellect, intuition, instincts, and all that you perceive through your 5 senses. Your present level of awareness indicates your moods, attitudes, emotional reactions, prejudices, habits, desires, anxieties, fears, aspirations, and goals. Most important, it indicates your sense of personal worth, in other words, how you feel about yourself. Awareness also determines your concept of reality. Your mind is like a camera that is constantly taking pictures of the events in your life. You are the one who decides what kinds of scenes you wish to record on film, and these things make up your awareness. Your camera may record other people's negative characteristics or your own inadequacies, hopelessness, or despair. You may read newspapers, watch TV, or concentrate on other sources of dramatized tragedy, sickness, or poverty, all of which are absorbed or mentally recorded. As you focus and file, you eventually accept these things as reality because you have the pictures to prove it. The problem is that truth and reality are not necessarily the same. If your mind has accepted false concepts, values, and beliefs about yourself and others, your awareness, although you will be operating from the wrong viewpoint, it will seem like the truth, and you will take on the personality and behavior patterns to justify it. This all goes back to what we said in Chapter 1. Every decision you make and every action you take is based on your present level of awareness. You always do your best. Does this statement surprise you? Most people are shocked when they first hear it. You have been told for years that you can and should be better. And while this is basically good advice, if it is to be acted upon, it must be considered in the context of what constitutes your present level of awareness. The fact is that you can never do better than you are doing at this moment. You are limited in doing so by your present level of awareness. To know better is not sufficient to do better. You will only do better when your present level of awareness has changed. Accepting reality. It is imperative for you to recognize that you will be happy and at peace with yourself only to the degree you accept you are doing your best at the moment. Once you do, you will no longer be vulnerable to the adverse opinions of others. Conversely, if you don't like what others are doing because, in your eyes, it is not right or fair, you have no justification for condemning and blaming them or making them feel guilty. The fact is that no one, either you or the other person, can do better than his or her best at the moment. You must learn to accept the reality of the moment and realize that no other action is possible at the time. Reality is the same for everyone. The difference between yours and someone else's is your perception of it. No two people have the same awareness. No two people have the same background and experiences, and so their way of perceiving life, their values, concepts, beliefs, assumptions, and aspirations will be different. The personal reality of each one of us consists of the mental, emotional, and physical characteristics we cannot change at this given moment. Your personal reality, then, is the sum total of your present level of awareness, values, beliefs, and concepts, right or wrong, that you embrace right now. as perception is always colored and influenced by awareness. If your awareness is faulty, so is your perception, even if you are sure you are right. Every decision you make and every action you take is based on your present level of awareness. Note that practically all your emotional and most of your physical problems are the result of resisting your own or someone else's reality, or the reality of a situation that, at the moment, you are unable but desperately want to change. Your refusal or inability to accept things as they are is at the root of the problem. If you examine most of your disappointments and frustrations, you will clearly see that you are resisting something that cannot immediately be changed. We resist reality, or what is, because we are under the false and destructive assumption that we can change it. But things are the way they are in the present moment, whether we want to accept that fact or not. Only when we can consciously recognize a particular phase of reality for what it is in the present moment is our resistance to it overcome. The key to change is to accept other people's behavior without feeling that you have to set them right. You must allow them the personal freedom to live according to their own individual awareness, however distorted and faulty it may be. To do this, you must learn to love and accept yourself first. If you are still judging yourself, you will feel compelled to judge others, thereby resisting their reality and present level of awareness. You can only be compassionate and understanding of others to the degree that you are compassionate and understanding of yourself. If you are not conscious that you are resisting reality, there is no way for you to break this destructive habit. You will always feel a need to judge things as good or bad, right or wrong, fair or unfair. You will believe that people and circumstances are conspiring against you because you refuse to face up to what is. And so you live in a world of wishful thinking where things should be but are not a certain way. It is a demonstrated fact of life that what happens to you is not nearly as important as the degree of intensity with which you resist the reality of a particular situation or individual. To put it another way, you can't help the way you feel about things, but you can help the way you think and react to them. You may not like the reality of a situation, but you must accept it for the present moment. In so doing, you will have control over your actions and reactions. One doesn't have to be a mental giant to see that resistance to reality is the cause of more heartache, headaches, resentment, hostility, and family problems than anything else. You cannot possibly feel hurt emotionally, get angry, resentful, or bitter towards another, nor can you ever feel less than or be put down and hurt by others without resisting reality. The destructive power of value judging. The basic cause of most inharmonious human relationships is the tendency to impose our values on other people. We want them to live by what we have decided is right, fair, good, etc. If they do not conform, we become resentful and angry, not recognizing that their level of awareness makes them unable to comply. By now, you must realize that there is nothing we can do to alter people's values, concepts, or beliefs if their awareness is not ready to accept change. No one is obligated to change just to make the world a better place for you to live in. People may disturb or anger you, but the fact that not everyone objects to their behavior indicates that the problem is not theirs, but yours. You are resisting their reality and desiring to see things, not as they are, but as you would like them to be. This is the point at which you start value judging. Your motivation to cease value judging should encompass the knowledge that all value judgments of good and bad, right and wrong, fair and unfair are totally unfounded because everyone must inevitably do what their present level of awareness permits them to do, no more, no less. Read this again. Let it become part of your awareness. If you fully comprehend what is being said, you will no longer feel the need to place value judgments on yourself and others, simply to avoid value judging others because you have been told that it is inappropriate is not enough. You must cease value judging yourself first, and then you will cease value judging others. This will allow you to start loving both yourself and others. When you learn to love and appreciate yourself, you will no longer be self-demanding and self-critical. As soon as you start loving others as they are, others will start loving you as you are. They won't have any other choice. Think about it. Who are the people to whom you are most attracted? They are those people whom you consider your close friends, the people who, no matter what they know about you, never pass value judgments. The secret of loving and being loved is to stop value judging forever. Understanding your motivation. Perhaps motivation is one of the most misunderstood words in the English language. Executives often ask me to visit a company to motivate their employees. They are surprised when I reply that I cannot. All I can do, hopefully, is to inspire them to change their awareness. It is important for you to have a clear understanding of what motivation is. Motivation describes your attitude when you would rather do one thing more than another at a particular time. Everyone is always motivated. Whether you are actively seeking success in a certain field or are just plain lazy and prefer to sit in a chair, if you are motivated. If you didn't want to sit around and do nothing, you would do something else, and that would become your motivation. The fact is that you can't start the slightest activity without first being motivated. What you must recognize is the difference between positive and negative motivation. The motivation to do something worthwhile and constructive, and the motivation to do something that is destructive to your well-being. In essence, no one can be motivated. Everyone is self-motivated. Keep this in mind. You will always do what you would rather do than not do. This generates your particular motivation. Every action you take is a response to a personal need or desire that is determined by your present level of awareness. Normally, your basic motivation is to feel good mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. If your needs in any one of these areas are unfulfilled, they will create a sense of frustration and anxiety, and you will do whatever you feel necessary to make yourself comfortable, even if that action is harmful to yourself. How to motivate yourself positively? If you want to have a more positive life experience, you must be convinced that any change you make will bring about the gratification of a particular need or desire. Positive self-motivation begins with changing your awareness. To make a constructive change in your life, you must evaluate the potential benefits for any given action. Then you must convince yourself that the benefits will justify or outweigh the price you have to pay for them. Others may inspire or even threaten you to make a change, but it is you who must motivate yourself by means of profit and loss comparison. To some degree, you have been doing this all your life, only now you can make certain that the process will work for instead of against you. The criminal, alcoholic, overeater or drug addict have all gone through the same process and, based on their levels of awareness, decided that addiction is worth whatever price they have to pay for it. Once their awareness changes, usually under tragic circumstances, they realize that the cost of escaping from reality and a self they have come to hate is too high for what they are receiving in return. And so their motivation sets them on a more positive course. You will find it most helpful to cultivate the use of two familiar but often neglected words, wise and unwise. All your actions and the actions of others should be viewed as either wise or unwise. Nothing should be judged as good or bad, fair or unfair, right or wrong. These are only moral judgments based on your present awareness or the collective awareness of society. The terms wise and unwise do not impose value judgments. They allow you to observe your actions or the actions of another and, on the basis of awareness, decide if they are wise or unwise. At no time is the person being judged. It is important to understand that your actions may be bad, but you are never bad. You must extend this same understanding to everyone else in turn. I hope, by now, that you can see it is impossible to motivate people to change by telling them what they must, should or ought to do. They can only change through their own conscious decisions. You may inspire, frighten or threaten them, but the motivation generated will only be temporary to fulfill their dominant need, which, for that moment, is to get you off their backs. They will not change their habits permanently until they are convinced that the change will be beneficial to them in relation to the price they have to pay. More importantly, they will not change until their awareness is changed. Taking responsibility. You have the right and option to choose anything you want to do, anything at all. No one else can choose for you. The Creator has given you free will to do anything you wish within the limits of your intellectual and physical capabilities. This means you are allowed to make mistakes, fail, lie, cheat, cry, shout, be lazy, angry, selfish, loyal, aggressive, rejected, hurt, to overindulge in food, drink or sex, to take drugs, change your mind or do anything else you want. The divine gift of free will is always yours. Free will certainly does not imply that you must make the right choice all the time. Your choice is only as right as your present level of awareness. However, keep in mind that you are responsible for consequences of all your choices. You have learned that, when you make any decision, it is based on a level of awareness which is at a fixed point for that moment. You can do one thing and only one thing based on your current awareness. Thus you are always doing the best you can under the present circumstance. You must give yourself the right to make mistakes because it is through mistakes that your awareness is expanded. You will never be free until you learn to be true to yourself and accept full responsibility for your own life and the fulfillment of your needs. But, in doing so, you must also accept full responsibility for every thought, word, deed and decision for. Inevitably, you will have to pay the price for each. To use an old adage, if you want to dance, you must be prepared to pay the fiddler. You will learn and grow according to the nature and consequences of your actions. Keep in mind that nothing you do is right or wrong, good or bad, it is only wise and unwise. As, hopefully, you progress from unwise to wise actions, the importance of this terminology will become increasingly evident. In regard to wise or unwise decisions, before you take any action, ask yourself the following questions. Is this a wise or an unwise act? Will it contribute to my basic needs? Will it harm me or someone else? What is the total price I must pay? Is it in harmony with laws of the universe as I understand them? Am I willing and able to pay this price and accept the consequences? By asking these questions, you will put yourself in full conscious control of your life. They will help you to build a new awareness based upon the knowledge that the person to whom you are accountable for all your actions is you. The logic of this is quite evident when you consider that it is you who will reap the reward or suffer the consequences. The hold of habit. This is quite evident when you consider that it is you who will reap the reward or suffer the consequences. The hold of habit. Habits make you the person you are. It is impossible to make a major change in your life without destroying the compulsive hold they have upon you, unless you are happy, healthy, calm, peaceful, self-reliant, and successful in every area of your life. Changing self-defeating habits must take priority in your life. Most of us have no idea how much our lives are built around so-called bad habits. We have programmed the wrong responses into our subconscious minds and central nervous system. This causes us to respond the way we have conditioned ourselves to feel and act, no matter how negative, false, distorted, or destructive this might be. Consequently, we must go through a period of unlearning or deprogramming in order to change our negative, self-defeating habit patterns. You cannot give up anything you regard as desirable. No amount of willpower is of any use unless we really want to give up old habits. Most of the time we want to get rid of their painful effects but are not willing to give up the habits themselves. The reason most diets fail after a short time is that the eater starts feeling deprived. He has the desire to lose weight, to look and feel better, but he has no desire to give up overeating. The end result is that his mind is constantly filled with thoughts of food. The more he thinks about food, the more conscious he becomes of it until the desire to eat overtakes his willpower. We should not deceive ourselves that we can change our lives by self-discipline alone, by hoping that we can force ourselves to make a change. If a person really wants to lose weight, he must be sold on the idea of getting rid of the habit of overeating that has been serving as compensation for tensions and unfulfilled needs. He will seldom, if ever, stop simply because he thinks he should. To do only generates feelings of guilt, frustration, and anxiety, all of which produce resistance to change. Before you can change any habit, you must fully recognize and accept that you have one. The fact that you can't accept your faults is the reason why you can't overcome them. Verbally condemning your bad habits and yourself for having them only tightens their hold, thereby defeating all efforts to suppress them. Feeling guilty just makes the hold stronger. Alfred Adler put it this way: either do wrong or feel guilty, but don't do both. It's too much work. This is a great piece of advice. We must create new, more positive habits by eliminating our negative habits through substitution, by providing worthy, positive thoughts and actions to replace them. If your parents took something away from you as a child, they usually offered you something else in return. This kept your mind off what they had taken from you. There are some things we will give up readily. This is because we have placed an importance on these things and recognize Their destructive effect on our lives. The more importance you place on something, the more willing you are to do something about it. Positive habit conditioning program. Use the following program to condition yourself to substitute any negative habit that you find detrimental to your well-being. Step 1. Write down the following. A. What negative habit do you desire to replace? B. What positive habit or attitude will you develop to replace it? C. What actions will you take to replace your negative habit? D. What is the easiest and most logical way to do this? Step 2. A. Visualize yourself as already having succeeded in changing your habit. See yourself enjoying the benefits of your new positive habit. B. Use a positive affirmation to go along with the visualization. More about affirmations later. Step 3. Observe your actions and note every time you fail to do what you promise. Remember, do not condemn or scold yourself. Simply make a non-judgmental observation and allow yourself to make the necessary correction. Step 4. Keep a record for at least 21 days. After you consciously choose your new positive habit pattern, these 4 steps will enable you to program it into your subconscious. It will then become an automatic response action. If you have established negative responses to life situations, your automatic mechanism will cause you to respond the way you have conditioned yourself to feel and act. It is advisable to monitor your responses or habit patterns by using the following 3-step formula to evaluate and correct them. 1. Remove anything in your life that is not working for your good. 2. See what is working for you and continue to program that into your subconscious. 3. Add new things you find desirable that are likely to work for you. Use the above formula for the rest of your life and you will find that you will gain self-confidence and your life will be full of successful experiences. Remember these important facts about changing your habits. A. Recognize and accept the fact that you have a negative habit and place no value, judgment on yourself. B. Before starting to change your habit, weight the potential benefits against the price you will have to pay for overcoming it. C. Understand that no amount of willpower is of any use unless you really want to give up a habit. D. You must be convinced that change will bring about the gratification of a particular need or desire. E. Above all, do not feel guilty, condemn or blame yourself for your present condition. Up to now, you have only done what your level of awareness has allowed you to do. As a new habit becomes stronger, we are tempted less and less by the old one. We must always be aware of our thoughts and actions and keep our dominant thoughts focused on what we want instead of what we don't want.